Hello my fellow riders and welcome back to Riding Reviews. Today we are going to continue on the restoration of the Lexmoto Arizona 125cc. Now I have got some new bits for this and hopefully today we should be able to complete the bike. I do have an MOT booked for next week. So this series is going to be a 5-parter. I will have the first video that's already up. The second video is a cleaning and WD-40 and that sort of thing. The third and fourth video will be getting the bike ready. That is what's going to happen today. And the fifth video is going to be test ride and MOT. Hopefully. We don't know if it runs yet. But there are some stuff that I have already purchased for this bike so that I can get it ready. So I've already purchased some stuff to get this bike ready. I've got oil, I have a new battery, a new headlight bulb because the high beam isn't working, a fuel pipe and a filter, and a speedo drive. This one wasn't actually from CMPO. This is the same as on a CB 700 for this bike. CMPO haven't got any, so I got some one off of eBay. Just make sure that you get the clip like this, and it should all be good. So first thing we're going to do is empty out the oil, take the tank off, set the tappets to where they're supposed to be, stick the battery on, and then we're going to see if it runs. Bear with me a little bit on this video because I do have a little bit of time restraint, so I will try my best to explain everything that I'm doing. But what you might find is I get a little bit gung-ho and I just want to get things done. So hopefully you'll find it entertaining, but just fair warning that I may not be able to explain absolutely everything I do. So let's get on with it. So the first thing we're going to do is empty out the oil. You will need a 17mm socket for this one. Get out of it. A good tip for this is don't go on there and try and just brute strength it, because what you probably do is end up shearing the bolt off the top. So when you put it on, just give it a couple of smacks with your hand, impact it a little bit, and that usually makes it so it's better to get off. Now there's some black oil. So let all that oil drain out of there. That looks like there's too much oil in there anyway. There's supposed to be 1.25 litres of oil in this engine, maybe a tad more because it's got the balance shaft on the front, but too much oil can do similar sort of damage or similar amount of damage to not enough. And take this top box off. So we're going to have to take the rear seat off first, which is a Phillips screwdriver. Oh, I think we got a fake widow there. Get out of it. Go away. Didn't kill it. Everything on this bike is going to be really tight. Hopefully we can get away with doing it without snapping anything. Other thing we're going to have to do today is take the carburetor apart, clean that out. But it will make everything slightly easier if you take the tank off. So yeah, take the seat off, cobwebs and dirt and whatchamacallit all over the place. When you've got the bike stripped down as well, you might want to consider giving it another clean. She tight. Wow. Didn't break the screw, broke my screwdriver. So when you are trying to do this sort of thing, make sure you get the right size screwdriver, because otherwise you end up breaking the thread. So that's the wrong size, not the thread, the top. Right, that's the right size screwdriver. As well with this, if you're having trouble getting a nut or a screw or something off, give it a hit with a hammer. Just to shock the threads. And there we go, it's out. Lots of funny face pulling when you're doing this sort of thing. Oh, look at that. Cobweb Central. I think I'm going to have to give this another clean. Well, I knew I had to give it another clean, but before the other clean. So another clean. Another clean. Another clean. So remember as well, before you take the tank off, turn the fuel off. You don't want it going everywhere. Lucky for me as well, it's raining today, so as you can see, new digs. The point of this video is I didn't really want to be doing it at work, because obviously if you guys are going to try and emulate this, you're not going to be able to do it at your work. You might be able to, but it's not fair for me to be showing you how to do it when I've got all the tools ready at hand. I got a workbench and all of that sort of stuff, so I thought I'd make it so it's closely emulate what you guys would have to do instead of what I can do, which I'd say it would be a lot easier if I did this at work. Ooh. She's got a full tank, but we may have to empty that out anyway. The cabling on this one, it isn't actually that bad, it's not corroded, so that's always a good sign. So to take the head off of this one, you need 10mm, which I don't actually have in there. I'll have to find one. It's going to start absolutely peeing it down now. Luckily my camera is waterproof. What are you doing, cat? Get down. That's my cat, by the way. Mittens. Don't hit it with a metal part of the hammer, it will break. So when you're doing this, you're supposed to take that cap off of there, take this side cap off, and then turn it to TDC, which will be on there, it will be a T. I've done this many times, so I understand that. Can't get there. Stupid. Gonna have to take it off. Large flathead screwdriver, take that cap off. Right, I managed to get it. There is a line there. I'm not going to be able to get it on the camera, but so you are supposed to use a feeler gauge on this, and it's supposed to be 4,000th of an inch. But from experience, I know that if you try and lift it up and down, you shouldn't be able to feel anything. But if you try and rock it side to side and there's movement, that's where it's supposed to be, about there. I've been doing this for quite a while now, so I've got experience, obviously. Now the inlet one wasn't too bad, it was about right. The exhaust one on this one is fairly loose. Still a little bit loose. Now there will be a video up here somewhere, a contact card or whatever, and if you want to go and see how to do tappets correctly with the correct tooling, go on there. As I said, I've been doing this for donkey's years and I know how to do it without the correct tooling, which I don't currently have here. As I say, it's at work. You're probably not going to have this tooling, so why should I be able to use it? But yeah, rock them side to side. If you can feel they're moving, that's fine. You shouldn't really be able to feel much up and down though. So yeah, that's about correct. And you'll soon tell when you start it, if it's going tap 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 tap, then you know that you've done it too loose. Another thing as well with this one is a slightly older style engine. So if you can see here, there's two rods. This is called a push rod engine. Most of the modern bikes have an overhead cam, which is done by a chain. Power wise, you're not going to get that much difference in power. These just tend to rattle a little bit more. I think I will take this to work for only one reason. I haven't got jet wash here. They have there, and this needs a jet wash. Remember, when you're jet washing a motorbike, always jet wash. When the tank is on, always jet wash down, never jet wash up, because otherwise you get loads of water in your connectors. I'm probably going to get some water in my connectors today anyway, but maybe your bike won't look as bad as this. But one thing that I will say about this one is I think the muck actually protected it somewhat, because the chain's still good, and that's because it has so much oil on it that it's protected it over the years, which is good for me because it means I don't have to replace it. But if you do jet wash your chain, make sure that you re-grease it afterwards. And if you are doing a full restoration like I am, before you go and clean any of this, make sure you put all the caps and stuff back on the engine so you're not going to get water inside the engine. Whenever you're doing these bolts up at the top, you want to tighten them until you don't want to put much pressure on it. So put a little bit of pressure on it and then just tap it a couple of times. Because that'll make sure that it's tight, but you won't damage the thread on the actual bolt or screw, and you won't damage the thread on the engine as well. When I first started at CBRS, they called me Mr. Snappy because I was just going to town on all of the bolts and I snap them all. But I learned after a little bit of finesse. So I'm going to move the bike over out of the way. Well, I'll put the bits back on, but I'm going to move it over there, wash off the cobwebs, bring it back, and then we'll do the carburetor. Again, when you're tightening this up, same thing, couple of hits. You don't want to over tighten it. You don't want to under tighten it as well. So that in there is way too much oil. There's about 2 to 3 litres in there. This bike, as I said, should only hold about 1.25. But luckily there's no water in it, so that's good. Remember as well, don't forget to put some oil in it. I haven't done that yet, but I will do shortly. That stand is still rather seized. So as I said previously, I'm not going to do a massive clean now. It's better when you get a jet wash. So I do that from work. So next part is take the carburetor off. Flips. One side flips. Take off the airbox, take off the choke, Again, these cables aren't that corroded, but I will spray some stuff down the pipes just to try and make sure they free up nicely. So 10. I guarantee this isn't very nice in here. Airbox is a bit stiff, but it will be. You go brittle after a while. Best thing to do is, if you want to loosen it off a little bit, add some heat. Which I haven't got any. So we are going to manhandle it off. Just if you do this, make sure you're careful of any seals, because you don't really want to have to replace them. A little bit of that greasy elbow gets it off. And the back of the airbox come off anyway. But that's fine, we can stick it back in. And I can also heat it up externally, so it's probably better anyway. I can definitely tell this is looking a little bit dirty. If you can see in there, in there, in there. So what you want to do is undo this screw here, and it'll let all the fuel out. Make sure you get rid of it safely. It's going in with the oil. You will need some carb cleaner for this. Let's take the bottom off. Sorry if you can't see this properly, hopefully you can. I also have another video, a little bit better one, on how to change your carburetor. So the link is up at the top of the screen. Check that out if you want an in-depth view, but that's not really the point of this video. Just trying to get it going. Yeah, there's some nasties in there. Sometimes you may have to get a reseal kit, because sometimes they don't want to go back together. I mean, look at that. Oop, read that. So you can tell this is like a varnishing. You might be able to get some of it off, but I don't think you're going to get most of that off. But again, that bit doesn't really matter. So for this, I'm going to use a pin on the end of my multimeter. As you can see, it's all mucky. So you've got, I use a paintbrush to clean them up. Also need a thin flat screwdriver because I guarantee the jets are blocked. I don't want to come out. So the way to check the jets is blow it out, look at a light source through the end of the jet and check if it's blocked. This one is. You can get special cleaners to go through this, but what you really need is just a piece of wire, a really thin piece of wire. Take one of the strands out and use that. The main jet's not blocked, the idle jet is. So you need a tub. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of fuel out of the fuel tank and use that as a cleaner as well. You don't need tons. Yeah, as I suspected, this stuff's not coming off. But there's no bits in there, so that's perfectly fine. Also in these there's holes down the side that you want to make sure are clean. So again, poke some wire through that. I don't think that's 100% clean. Paper clip. Bah. So this is probably going to be a bit hard to see, but it's just a couple of strands of wire. Poke it down the end of the jet and just clean it out. This one's stubborn. Yeah, that's got it. I got Jets are clean. And just give the rest a little bit of a clean because it is a bit fuzzy. On this, so on the float you get this little needle. Make sure that the pin is still freely going in and out, and then clean it off. If you are wearing gloves, remember that the petrol will eat them. I would suggest wearing gloves. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly clean, but just try and make sure that there's no debris in it, like that. The varnishing effect that's on it, you're not going to be able to get rid of that. Then pretty much just put it back together. As I said previously, if you do want to see a full breakdown and rebuild of a carburetor in a little bit more detail, have a look at my other video. If I show you detail of everything on this, I will never get it done. So also make sure that that's got a little bit of a bob in it. When you set the fuel to air mixture, turn it all the way in and turn it out 1.25 turns. And then you can adjust it afterwards to make sure that it's correct. As I say, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the more you can get off, the better. That'll do. Sometimes with these seals you might find that they're going to expand a little bit and they're a bit hard to get back in. This one looks like maybe... oh no, we're alright on this one. Just about. So seat it in as it's supposed to be. I almost forgot to put the jets back in. Stop it. That's one clean enough carb. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is another muck-off product, HCB1, the Ultimate Anti-Corrosion Barrier. So we're going to spray that on the wires. And we are going to spray it, hopefully, down the cap of the accelerator cable. fill up that cap and just let it draw through. Press some more in. That accelerator cable is already freeing up nicely. And this should, in theory, stop it from rusting any further. That seems quite nice and free now. So also do the same with the choke cable, if I can find it. It is. That doesn't seem too bad anyway, but okay, we're all good. I'm just going to go and heat up this pipe. As you can see, it's a lot. If any of these gaskets fail, the bike won't run right anyway because it'll have an air leak. So just make sure that if you do need a new gasket, get one. Luckily, I didn't have to. But what I did do, like a plonker, I've dropped a screw. This is from the choke. May find it, probably not. I'm sure I can find something else. You guys have got to be probably a little bit more careful than I have been with the screws, because I can get replacements you may not be able to. But there you go. When you're putting the accelerator cable back on, it can only go in one way. So you'll notice the screw on the back of the carburetor has to be in line with this. And there is a groove on the other side where it can run down. So So carburetor's back on minus the choke, because obviously I dropped the choke like a blonker. Choke screw. It will be here somewhere, but I'm on block paving, so it could have gone down the creek. Right, so we've got to put the battery on. The old one's on it already, so we'll stick that on. Make sure that the polarities are the right way round. Remember, green to negative, red to positive. And try not to touch the red on the frame once you plug the black in, because otherwise it will arc out. If you do put them on the wrong way round, chances are you're just going to blow a fuse, so that's not a massive issue. But if somebody previously have bypassed a fuse, which I've seen before, then you start getting major issues. battery box is a pain in the butt. Right, don't forget to put some oil in it. So I'm sticking in rock oil into this one. It's not 20 litres in here, it's 1 litre. This was an empty. Reason I bought this is because it's quite hard to get rid of old oil, so I need somewhere to put my old oil once I'm done with it. So I put it in there and then I can take it back to Bikes R Us and they have a way of getting rid of it. You can take yours to the skip. Do not pour it down the drain. From the looks of the oil that's in it, I don't think it's had a change for a little bit. Put some in, check it. Not enough. So it now has a correct amount of fuel in it. Oil, sorry, not fuel. Let's put the tank back on. Where are they gone? Too loose, I think. Need to get this get a stupid clip on. All else fails, cable tight. Make sure that when you put the pipe back on, there's not a kink. Where's that leaking? Put it up there for a sec. Right, so before we do this, no cheating. Pause the video. Write in the description whether you reckon it will start. In theory, it should. Right, start button does not work. But that's fine, we can sort it out in a bit. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's give it a bit of choke. There you have it. Sounds quite nice. So what we're going to do before we put it back together, want to make sure that it's actually charging the bike. So I am going to put a multimeter across the battery, make sure it's 13 plus volt. I said the tap is right, they're not tapping. .1. Accelerator sticking a little bit. I'm not sure if that's the top or the bottom, but we'll have a look. I think it's where the accelerator cable is sitting under the tank. I'm going to take the tank off, make sure that I've routed the cables correctly, because there's a chance I haven't. For the accelerator anyway. That'll be why it's trying to rev loads. have been a bit of a future. So anyway, that accelerated cable seems like it's stuck somewhere, and I will have to sort it out, which isn't too much of an issue, so I wouldn't worry about that. So I think I'm going to leave this video here. It's absolutely pinning it down, and I've got a little bit of tinkering to do. So the next video you will see will be the test ride on the way to the MOT centre, and we'll see if we can get it in MOT. I'm about 90% sure that it will pass once I've sorted out the little finicky bits. But we are 90% of the way there. So if you've liked this video, please hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, comment below and tell me how I can make my videos better in the future. I will be taking this bike to CBRS at some point this week, just so that I can give it a good clean with a jet wash. I don't have a jet wash, but there you go. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to support my channel, hit the join button and it'll help me make this sort of content in the future. But as always, ride safe.